Hello everyone, it's Rebecca from Silver Grey Foliage. It is the last week in May. It's not the last week in May at all, it's the last week in April. That tells you how fast time is going and how difficult I am finding it to keep up. I am in the field this morning on my own, running a bit behind schedule this week, which is okay. I'm actually not doing a job that was on this week's planned list, but it's a job that needs doing now, so I am doing it anyway. It's the end of April and these arrived 2 days ago. These are my rooted cuttings. They have come from Halls of Heddon. I'm incredibly excited about them. And so I thought I'd talk you through our strategy this year for dahlia, because these are my rooted cuttings of dahlia rather than anything else. And we have not bought any new chrysanthemums this year. I've done my own cuttings from the varieties that we had already, and I've had mixed success, but there'll be enough for what we need. So, like many people, I like dahlia. I don't love them. I do like dahlia. I like them to a particular size and shape, so we're only growing kind of small and medium sized dahlia this year. We are not doing any big dinner plate ones, mainly because we don't really have the facilities to look after them. We don't have the covered space or a protected area where they do well. The protected area where we grew dahlia last year has now got 40 David Austins and a load of ranunculus in it. David Austins are never coming out, and the ranunculus won't be out for another 4 weeks at the earliest. So, and I knew that would happen. I definitely don't have polytunnel space for them, so we haven't even tried. They are not there. Then we had our own dahlia last year that were dahlia tubers. About 80% of our dahlia tubers last year got root gall, which was upsetting at best. I'm just sorting these out as I talk to you. And the other 20% we lost in the cold. So we ended up with 0. Now, I wasn't expecting to have a huge amount of dahlia left, and so that 20% was never going to be enough. So our strategy this year was that we weren't going to buy any dahlia tubers, and that's because we don't have the space. So I talk a lot about space, to be able to bring them on, to get them potted up early, and to get them looked after. So our strategy very much so was, we are going to, that's small world, I love small world. We are going to buy everything from rooted cuttings. They will come when they come, because that's obviously up to the massive production line that happens at Halls of Heddon. And like last year, they're going to go straight in the ground. Now, last year they went straight in the ground at HQ, which is a bit more protected than we are. Oh, it's not a bit more protected, it's a lot more protected than we are here up at the field. So it is a real gamble, but the second thing that we are doing is that we are putting our rooted cuttings straight into the ground. Now, the guidance, and it's really important that I talk about the guidance, is that you get your rooted cuttings whenever you get them and you pot them up. The reason that I'm not doing that is the same as the reason that we're not putting them at home. I don't have space. Equally, last year we tested putting them straight into the ground and it worked really well. We had really good production, we had really good stem length, so rooted cuttings going straight into the ground does work. Ideally it would be a bit warmer. There is still a frost risk. We will cover everything in mesh, which is what we do up here anyway, because of the rabbits and the deer and the sheep. But setting all those things aside, the next thing that we need to worry about is slug pressure, because at HQ I'm there in the evening. I can go out and check on the slugs. I can go and pick some out. It's quite therapeutic picking a bowl of slugs to leave out for the hedgehogs. I can't do that up here. I'm not going to be up here at 9 o'clock at night on my own. It's not sensible, it's not safe. So what is the plan? Well, the plan is that we're going to try soil washing with garlic first and see if that works. So we've made a garlic wash. The idea from that came from another grower. I will find her name. I will put it in the notes because I like to credit the people that we're gaining information from. So my understanding is that the garlic wash A, puts off slugs, and B, kills off their eggs. Now, if this really works, hurrah! Okay, slugs can be very happy somewhere else, like at the other end of the field, but away from my dahlia essentially. So I will be really, really excited if this works. If there's evidence that it's not working, then we'll put out some beer traps, and that's really the best that we can do up here. And that's one of the reasons that I like dahlia, but I don't love them. They're high maintenance. Growing them well requires attention. It's not that I don't have the attention, it's that we don't grow on site, we don't live on site, and so for us they present a challenge. Anyway, that's enough chat. I've sorted out the varieties that have arrived in my box. I'm going to unwrap them. They're still lovely and moist, and I'm going to get them into one of our new beds. And you can see, we protect everything. So you can see protected beds behind you. I'm going to crack on, and I will bring you to join me in a bit. Okay, before I move on, I haven't actually moved since I spoke to you last. I'm just going to show you this because I love it. Halls of Heddon are very traditional. They do everything the way they always have. So their rooted cuttings arrive in paper, which is just lovely. It's nice and moist. And then you can see that the cuttings have got moss around them. Just keeping them moist, good for travel, but wholly recyclable. But I'm not going to put it on our beds. I don't want moss growing on these beds, so I'm going to put it back in the box. We'll take it home and I'll use it for something, and worst case scenario, it will go on the compost heap. So these are our rooted cuttings. Really lovely. They're always lovely, but these so far this year are utterly gorgeous. You can see that they're rooted all the way to the outside. These guys are ready to either be potted up. I'm going to put them in the ground because that's what we're doing. I'm showing you this because this is what we do. I think the other thing that's really important is that you inspect. So you can see that this has arrived. I hope you can see this in the light. And in here, there is a flower bulb. That can't stay, a flower bud. So I'm going to pinch this one. I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to give it a pinch now. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't pinch the minute things arrived, but I don't want my rooted cutting putting energy into growing flowers. It is too early. So anything that's got a bud on it, and actually I can see that a number of these might bud up. They're really kind of big cuttings this year, so I don't want them budding up. I want them putting energy into roots formation. It's far too early to be trying to form flowers, so anything that looks vaguely like it's even thinking about it, I'm just going to pinch those out, and then I'm going to get them in the ground. So just having a look, and this really applies to everything that you grow when it arrives. Have a good look at it. Some people might say that I'm a bit mean putting these straight out into the cold. It's not that I'm mean, it's just that I have what I have. And I think it's really important that we do us, or you do you. So for us, this is our only option, because I don't have a barn, massive polytunnels, and you know, I'm not really suggesting that I need them. I mean, I am growing flowers in Yorkshire. So if you don't know where Yorkshire is, it's in the north of England. It's not particularly warm, but seemingly it works. I mean, there are quite a few flower growers around. It's worth Googling. There are a lot of us, which means that it must work enough, otherwise we wouldn't all be doing it. But it's definitely harder than doing it in the south of England, because it is colder, certainly on this side, so we are northeast, than it appears to be in the northwest. I can't do anything about that. Quite a lot of these have got buds, so I'm just checking them and pinching them all out a bit ahead of schedule, but that's what I need to do. And I think that's okay. I think our climate works well for some things, not so great for others, and we really have to just learn to play to those strengths, which is what we're trying to do. It's a huge part of our philosophy of Get On and Grow. Just crack on and do it your way. Work out what works for you, repeat and share, so that other people can think about it and learn, but not necessarily copy. Adapt for what works for you. Birds everywhere. HQ we've got lots of little birds that I really love. The birds up here are more buzzards, and oh, the sun's coming out, how lovely. We've got buzzards and red kites, you see kestrels, it's lovely. But I'm not supposed to be having a good time, I'm supposed to be working, so I'm just gonna crack on. Bye! Okay, so you just watched me plant out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of whatever variety this is. And what you should have realised is that that was a super quick, lovely and easy job. And that's one thing that I definitely love about rooted cuttings. It's quick. There's no faff. These are going into some of our new beds on the new field, the new ½ acre. We can't plant into the sites that we were in before because we had all of that root ball, so that's got other things in it. I could be more specific than that. What else is in there? It's got perennials in it mainly now, so you know, the space is being used, but I can't put dahlia back into the same place because I'll just get root gall again, and that's just silly, isn't it? So trying to be sensible and just use the space that we have. The good things about this is that the soil is lovely, it's nice and soft, it's really easy to dig. We have dressed it at the moment with a load of chicken manure, but we've got some other treats to be going on this once these are a wee bit bigger. I don't want to scorch my new plants by putting too much feed on, but we will really heavily mulch these as the season goes on and add a few other treats. So that's what's coming, and I guess that's fantastic. The downside of putting them here is that I'm quite a long way from the gate and dahlia are heavy and tall. But I don't have a choice because I don't have anywhere else that hasn't been used that is ready for dahlia. So I will bear that in mind for next year, and some of the older annuals beds in annuals 1 I might well use for dahlia next year, so they're right next to the gate. I didn't think about that very well when I was planning. I will plan better next year. Win some, you lose some. Okay, so I am on to bed 3. I've planted out bed 2, sorry. I've planted out 40 of my dahlia cuttings already, and I have to say I'm loving this, and I'm loving it because it is quick and it's efficient and it's not taking you much time. I also think that Halls of Hedon have been quite clever this year. I'm sure they're always very clever, but I think they've been deliberately clever. So these cuttings that I've got this year are definitely bigger and slightly further on than they were last year when I got them. And I suspect what's happened is that they've gone, Rebecca's in the north, because you have to tell them where you are, and Rebecca grows outside, and it's cold because they are in the north too. So we're just going to hold on to these for slightly longer before we send them to her. And if that is their thinking, I'm very grateful. And if it's just that they're further along when they're sending them this year, I'm still very grateful. I thought I would, whilst I unwrap this set, I've decided to pinch everything, by the way, because once it's done, and they're all going to be protected. So, you know, it's not a huge extra risk compared to the ones that we're taking already. I wanted to provide those of you who are having angst on my behalf about planting out cuttings in the north in April with just a bit of reassurance. So I guess The first bit of reassurance is that the reason that I planted out directly last year was because I took advice and counsel from a Scottish grower called Paula. Some of you will know her. She's Mill Pond Flowers, who at a similar time, and it was a couple of weeks later, was planting out hers. Now, she is incredibly experienced. So if Paula's willing to do it, I'm willing to consider it and or try it. The second thing is I've tried it and it's worked. The third thing, and I do think this has its own little bit of merit, is that I know my growing conditions. So I know it's windy up here, but I know that it's starting to warm up. I know that my last frost date is next week, and for me, last frost dates are a bit of a mythical concept. So whilst the 30th of April is what I'm told to expect, in reality my last frost date could be anything up to the end of June, and I'm not going to wait till the end of June to get these out. Fact. And finally, this is about knowing what I do and don't have. So I know that by planting these out directly, I am using reusable this is builder's mesh and EnviroMesh. We've got a mixture of the both to provide protection. It is not costing me anything extra in terms of compost, because we choose to spend our extra compost money on tulips that we crate up. I don't want to be spending money on extra compost for dahlia as well. Equally, there's a time thing. So it takes time to pot up a couple of hundred dahlia, or actually we haven't got that many this year, I think 100 or so. But it takes time. You have to water them, then you have to look after them, then you have to keep them this and that. I don't have the space to put them all, and I don't have the time to do it. And from a cost perspective, I am not convinced that spending the money on extra compost for these is worth it. So that's why I'm making these decisions for now. There is some thought and some reasoning behind it. I'm not just being completely gung-ho. Okay, I'm going to finish with what for me is a truly momentous point, and maybe even a turning point in silver grey foliage history. I'm so excited. Behind me, you may be able to hear what sounds like 100 little children weeing. It is not 100 little children weeing, it's irrigation. Like, we have finally, after 3 seasons and 4 years, got water that doesn't require a watering can or a member of the silver grey foliage family holding a hose pipe. You have no idea what that means to me. Now, when I say you have no idea what that means to me, I'm just going to remind you that we have had half an acre last year, and most of that was in use. And this year, all of that first half acre is in use, and we are now moving on to the second half acre. We're still small in flower farming terms, but that's quite a lot of ground to water with a hose pipe. Now, we're not foolish. We have tried a number of irrigation systems, and they haven't worked for us. At great expense, we have tried and failed to make life easier. And that's been either because we're on a slope, or the water pressure isn't high enough, or lots of reasons. So we have resorted to making our own irrigation, because obviously that's what we do. But essentially we knew that we couldn't expand without trying something else and getting a better, more efficient watering system. So we've made our own. It's a hodgepodge of things that we've tried and bought over the years, and a few new bits. But the first 2 rows of dahlia are watering themselves. Like, wow! They're watering themselves, and I'm doing something else, which is putting together the next couple of rows. I mean, it is utterly life-changing for me. Okay, I've stood up because it's cold. I did not bring a coat up to the field, and also it allows me to have sight of the lambs, the baby lambs, that are super cute and springing away, and also at the moment on top of my pile of compost and very close to my gate, and they are, you know, adventurous little beasts on our list of pests. Anyway, I was just telling you about our irrigation. I'll do a proper Instagram or YouTube or something on it soon. I think the key thing for us is that it's not a solution without effort. It is a solution that requires us to make things by hand. But if I could count, and I haven't, the number of evenings, hours, days, arguments with our kids about getting them to do some very basic but very dull watering, like the time and effort and angst that's gone into watering and keeping our flowers alive, like, it is worth the effort that we're putting into making this solution. So many of you will follow us on Instagram as well. I commented, I'm going to say yesterday, so it is now the end of April-ish, I can't remember the date, but I commented about something that one of the yoga instructors on my Wednesday hard class said. So she was quoting some yogic wonder. I'm afraid I'm not so into yoga that I know these things, but she said we can't be in control of the results. I can't be in control of the results, but I can be in control of the amount of effort that I put in. So put in the most effort that I can, and the results will follow, whatever they are. And that's really helped me. There's a flipping lamb on my car. Anyway, lamb on my car, this is nuts. Welcome to Yorkshire. It's really helped me over the past few weeks and since she said that, and it probably would have helped me in the past few months if I had heard it before, because growing a flower farm is hard work, and I'm a worrier about what the flowers will be like, if the flowers will be there, how many there'll be. I know that I've put lots of thought and planning, and Anthony's put lots of thought and planning and effort in too, but I do worry, and that's really helped me, because it essentially says for me and for you that I need to try my hardest. I need to work my hardest that I physically can without putting my health at risk, and the results that we achieve will be the results that we achieve. It feels like it's been a disconnect between what we're trying to achieve and the actual outcome, and making the effort in and of itself something to be proud of. And that has really helped me, and I hope it helps you, because flower farming is hard work. Growing, propagating, protecting, nurturing, researching, it's hard work. I love it, but it's hard work. Listen, my name's Rebecca. I am a flower farmer here in Leeds, West Yorkshire. There's some form of bird flying over the top. Today I have been talking you through our process on getting dahlia cuttings into the ground. If you've liked what you've seen, please do subscribe. There will be more. It's a long year ahead. It feels like it's racing away, but it's a long year ahead. If you have found any of the tips or tricks useful, please do buy me a coffee. I genuinely would appreciate it if anybody would buy me a coffee. Yeah, I put that in there as a hope that in reward for the work we put into showing you what we know, so that hopefully it's helpful to you, somebody buy me a coffee, but no one has yet, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. If you find this useful, please do buy me a coffee. Thank you.